All right, in this video, I'll show you one thing that will make you immediate money. Well, it's the closest thing anyway to a magic pill that I've ever seen. I'll tell you a little story. I used to do a lot of consulting. Sometimes I still do, but I have one client that I really focus on. Back in the day, I would do these things. Sometimes people would come, they'd spend like 20 grand and they'd buy like a half day. We would meet for 4 hours or whatever. Then we started doing things where we'd have like a little group of people do a small meeting, like maybe 7 people or something, and they'd pay 18 grand each, and we'd meet for a couple of days. And I would go around and do like consulting sessions with each one of them. And then we finally graduated to this thing where it was like a $40,000 engagement, and we would meet a couple times a year, and I would do the same thing. And my job with these folks was always to make them, as quickly as possible, more money than they paid me. That wasn't what I promised them, but for me, it was like, dude, if I don't do this for them, like I'm a fraud, and I don't want to be like that. So I put like this enormous pressure on myself to do it. And man, I gotta tell you, that is intense, like especially when they pay you a lot. Like here's 40 grand, and now like you gotta go make them significantly more than 40 grand. Like for me, my mission was always to be able to measurably do it in at least 7 days. So I discovered this little formula for damn near instant money. It doesn't work for like everybody. You have to have a business and stuff. Like I'm not trying to, do whatever stupid things here, but for people that actually have businesses and stuff, this really does work. So here's how it came to be. Every time I would meet with people, like whether it was, in a like one-on-one half-day consulting thing, or whether it was in any sort of group format, I always wanted to know what our mission was, because like, I didn't think they just wanted to come hang out, you know what I mean? Like we wanted to get something done. So I'd always be like, okay, what do you want to accomplish by working together? And a lot of the reason I would ask this is because I was always so freaking nervous because they paid me so much. I put all this pressure on myself, to really deliver for them, which I guess it was healthy because it worked and it made them a lot of money and they were happy. But anyway, I go like, hey man, what do you want to do? What are you looking to accomplish? Weirdest thing would happen every time. And this is directly relatable to you, all right? So this is important because I've seen this over and over again, and I fall for it myself too sometimes. So I'd be like, all right, what do you want to accomplish? And they would tell me everything that was going wrong. And I'd be like, okay. And at first, like the first 10 times it happened, I'm like, am I asking this question weird, Because they would never tell me what they would want to accomplish. So then I finally got, and I was like, okay, I've just let them tell me all the bad stuff. First I would try to fix it, and then I was like, okay, they just want to tell me everything that's wrong. So I'd listen, then I'd ask again. I'd be like, okay, well, what are you looking to accomplish, by working together? And then they would not give me an answer. They would say something like, well, I want to make more money, which I was like, well, duh. I kind of assumed that would be the case. And finally, it would usually like this part of the conversation, I swear to God, even when they're paying a lot of money for this whole part of the conversation was like 20 to 30 minutes every single time. And I'm talking like big companies, people were making a ton of money. They're making a lot more money than me. I would have to extract this from them, like I was an interrogator or something. So I'd finally be like, specifically, how much more money do you want to make by when? And nobody ever, this is like years of doing this, okay, never had the answer immediately. They'd always have to be like, oh, okay, well, let's see. And then we'd like, I'd just get something out of them. So once we finally got that number, and I promise you this relates to you, once we finally got that number, and then we would get like the target date, so let's just say it was a year or something. Like I want to make an extra $1 million in the next 12 months or whatever, the money number was. Then I would be like, okay, well, what are you doing now? And the reason I would ask them that is, number one, I didn't immediately know the answer. Like, I'm not a genie or something. So I'd be like, well, let's figure out what you got going on so we can see, what we can do to make it work better. And here's what would happen, okay? They would tell me everything that wasn't working. Again, I'm like, okay, great. It's your nickel, tell me how horrible things are, that as long as you want, but I'm going to keep on asking you. So finally, I would extract the sales process from them. Like, how does your business work? And it would usually go like this, like, all right, let's say you want to make, $10 million next year, whatever. How much are you making now? Okay, you're making 8 million. Great. Okay, what are you doing to make the 8 million? And then they would tell me how this used to work and this used to work and everything's horrible and everything's horrible. And then finally, they would get out of that everything's broken mode and they would start telling me how the business works. And here is ultimately, after years of doing this, what it formulaically came down to, all right, as the way to get instant money, which literally it could be the next day in many cases if they would implement what I told them to do. During that little phase, when they would be telling me how their business worked, I would be taking mental notes, okay, so you have this sales process and people land on a web page and they buy a book or something and then they buy other stuff and then maybe they buy the big thing or whatever it is. And it doesn't matter. I had people, doctors, dentists, authors, the usual internet marketing people. It really was the same thing for any business, is find out the moving pieces. And then this was so crazy. I would finally get to the point where I was like, okay, wait a minute. What was your best month in the past year, or sometimes we've been in business for a long time. It'd be like, hey, past 5 years, what was your best year? And then what was the best month during that year? Nobody knew, ever, never. They would guess, but then ultimately we would have to go and we'd open up Stripe or whatever their thingy was, and they're like, it was April. Okay, great. All right, I got 3 magic words coming up, by the way. So we'd look and we'd see what they did in April. And so, hypothetically in this example. So I'd be like, okay, well, what did you do in April? And they'd be like, well, I don't know. I was like, okay, well, let's go and look. And a lot of times the way we would figure out what they did in April is we would I'd have them log into their email account and look at the emails they got from themselves promoting their own stuff during the month of April. Now I'm using April hypothetically, so it doesn't matter the month, And then they'd be like, oh, we were selling this thing. And I was like, okay, tell me about that promotion. And a lot of times then they would know. And they'd be like, oh, well, we did this thing, and then we did a little challenge or a webinar or whatever it would be. And then we made a bunch of money. And here are the 3 magic words that I would tell them. I would say, what about we do that again? I wouldn't do this hand gesture though. That didn't go over as well as I'd wanted it to do in person. But they would, because they would see the logic. They'd be like, well, okay. And so what would end up happening, and this actually created lasting change in a lot of businesses, is we would start with the thing that worked best, then whatever, their last 12 months. And then we would just do that thing again. Sometimes it would work equally as well. Sometimes it would do almost as well, but it never flopped. It always got money. So that's the big takeaway. Thing number A is a number, is go back, look at the last 12 months, look at the month where you made the most money, see what you were doing during that month, what promotions you were running, what ads you were running, what emails you were sending your list, yada, yada, yada. Literally do the exact same thing again. See if it works. Never had it not work with real businesses. If a person's just started and they've got 2 customers, then that doesn't count. Sorry. But, for people that are more established, please do it. It'll definitely make you more money. Now, the second thing we would do is I learned from my own complete neuroses, I guess is the proper term there, is that most entrepreneurs, thankfully, it's not just me, most entrepreneurs are, we're creative. So we like to fix problems and stuff, which means if things are going really well, we'll just cause problems so we'll have something to fix. And a lot of people that I ended up working with were like that, which means that they would take the thing that was working, they wouldn't do it anymore, and they would do a completely new thing because subconsciously or sometimes consciously, they would get bored from doing the same thing. So we would take the thing that worked and then we would make it an automated process so that they couldn't mess it up. So whenever they got a new person into their ecosystem, that new person would be going through that automated sales process for them. So we kind of removed their ability to self-sabotage. Once we did that, now to like affect really lasting change, this started to become like almost laughable between me and the clients, like in a good way. It would be like, okay, here's a crazy idea. Let's look at the second best month you had in the past 12 months. And, and they're like, okay, all right. And then we would do the thing that worked second best. And it would either like work just as well or pretty much just as well or whatever. And then we'd be like, okay, now let's make that an automated thing. So after someone goes through the thing that worked the very best, then they go through the thing that worked the second best. And we would just string all of that stuff together so that the entrepreneur would be able to focus on doing what most entrepreneurs like doing the most, which is promotion and creating things and getting more people into the machine. So big takeaway here is as simple as it sounds. And dude, I know it sounds simple, but I ain't that bright, so I got to keep things kind of simple. Magic trick here. Go back, last 12 months, look at your best month, see what your best promotion was, run that sucker again. And I know I'm psychic. Okay, Frank, what if it was Black Friday or something? All that is a deadline sale or a flash sale. It is a Black Friday, Cyber Monday, all that stuff. All it is a classic sale with a reason why and a deadline on it. So you can take the word Black Friday and Cyber Monday and replace them with any freaking reason that you want to. A great reason is a holiday, and if you just Google weird holidays, you'll find out that almost every single day is a legitimate freaking weird holiday. I mean, stuff like National Peanut Day, like I swear, just Google it. Everything on Google must be true, right? But there's several sites where you can see like National Avocado Lovers Day, I mean, just the weirdest freaking things in the world. And so if your biggest day was always based around like a holiday or a sale or whatever, have no fear, there is no shortage of holidays. Oh, a holiday sale is, again, like I said, it's just a reason why to have a sale that has a deadline on it. So hopefully you found this beneficial. Thank you very much for watching my videos. By the way, YouTube's been working out pretty good. Who knew? Who would have ever guessed? Putting helpful content on YouTube helps you grow your business. Oh man, the things we discover. Anyway, I really appreciate it. If you know anyone who might benefit from watching this, then share it with them. And if you don't have my book yet, get it. It's frankkernbook.com. All right, that's what I got. Take it easy. Please implement this, by the way. Seriously, it'll work for you. Okay, bye.